Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. We're producing this episode for GoodCrowd.info, and we are excited to have with us today Bruno Marino. He's the CEO and founder of Planet Alpha Corp. He's in the middle of doing a Reg A Plus offering. We're excited to talk to him about that, doing great work with carbon sequestration. This is just right up my alley. I'm so excited to talk to him, so stay with us.
Welcome to Your Mark on the World, bringing you another changemaker with champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
This episode is made possible via the support of our sponsors, including Johnson & Johnson's Caring Crowd. Bruno, welcome to the show.
Hello, Devin. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're really thrilled to have you, and it's exciting. So let's first off talk about how you're doing carbon sequestration. You're using forests to do this. This is exciting stuff. Tell us about it.
Right. Well, I think the important lesson that we have learned over the past year, and that has brought us where we are today, is that this idea of sequestering carbon in forests really has to be backed up by measurement at the site. And this is the lacuna that exists today in most of these arrangements around forests. Also importantly, we know from our experience that unless we involve communities, the people living and valuing the forest, unless we involve them as the front line, these approaches will not produce long-term results. That's why our motto is, in a sense, invest in humanity by managing the earth. So we've come a long way. We have a proprietary system of measurement. We've reached out to over 100 different forest projects around the world. And in every case, they want to be involved. And the reason why is because we value their resources, and we're willing to go there and pay them, support them up front and annually for managing the forest in the ways they have done for decades, if not hundreds of years. So this idea is founded around people. The forests are there, but let's face it, by 2100, there'll be 11 plus billion people on this planet. Unless we manage the forest through people and communities, I'm afraid we don't have much chance to leave a planet that is sustainable for the future of our children and their children.
Yeah, it's really a scary situation. So what is the business model that you use to manage these forests in a way that is so synergistic with the indigenous populations?
Well, it's a four-step process, which is the best way to provide an explanation of this. The first process is the most difficult, and that is to engage communities in a relationship that has social, planetary, and economic good as the result. Often, people in the forest don't have a bank account or even a phone. So we try and link up with NGOs or other types of efforts in the area that bring us right in close to these communities. The agreement that we craft is of mutual origin. So we assess the situation and determine what is it they need the most to manage the forest in the future, for the future, 10, 20, 30 years. So that's the most important piece, and that's step one. Step two is to then deploy the monitoring system across the landscape. And this system measures the CO2 on sometimes a tenth of a second rapidity. And from that 24-hour, weekly, monthly, annual data, we determine how much CO2 on a net basis remains in the forest. And that amount is the sequestered amount. And that is the amount that we then use in step 3 to create a portfolio of projects and their results for sequestration. Those are pooled into a single pool. We call that the biosphere box. That box is then sort of staged and managed to allow investors to buy the offsets we had created. And then step 4 is this virtuous cycle that we hope occurs every year. And that is a positive feedback on the community and as a negative feedback on CO2.
Right, right.
So that is the approach.
So the primary revenue is the cash from investors who are buying carbon offsets. That's the key here, right?
Yeah. So if you invest in Planet Alpha, you invest in our development of projects around the world. That stored carbon that we measure from those projects is then sold as an offset, or we call them simply products, biospheric products. And that revenue then drives the whole system. Now, let me say that the investment in the Reg A Plus shares also bears a 5% dividend annually. It's non-cumulative, but the idea is that you can invest in this type of work and also with, have a return of 5%. Right. At the same time, you're investing in something that goes far beyond the value of a stock. Biosphere, biodiversity, indigenous people, they are priceless.
Right, right.
So what we're doing is trying to place a value on the mitigation of the diminution of the forest and so on.
But setting aside the investment in the offering for just a minute, the economic model for the business is you sell carbon offsets. That's your revenue source, and that's where you fund your operations and theoretically generate a profit that funds the dividend, et cetera, right?
Yes, that's correct. And let me just add that in our view, the entire carbon paradigm, trading paradigm, has not been successful. And the reason why is there's no measurement. So we believe that if we create a large supply of diverse projects in a portfolio that bear the mark of measurement, accounting, and verification, that demand will be much, much higher. We believe that because there is sentiment now across the earth to do something to preserve the planet for the future. What people do, though, how they can do it is not clear. And that was the motivation behind the Reg A Plus, in addition to the fact that anyone can buy these shares. You can be an unaccredited investor or an accredited investor. Both of those classes of investors can invest.
Right, right. So let's talk about this offering. How much money are you hoping to raise with the offering?
Well, it's a Reg A Tier 2 offering. The cap there is $50 million per year. So our goal is to raise $50 million.
And how are you doing against that goal?
We're doing okay, but we're finding that it's a difficult message to get across. So this is ultimately tied up with marketing and outreach and so on.
So what's the minimum that you can close the offering on if you raise it? What's the minimum?
Essentially, there is no minimum. It's an open, rolling basis offering. It ends in 12 months, and what we have raised is what we have raised.
And how much have you raised so far? How much money's in the bank?
Well, I'd rather not reveal that at the moment, although it will be accessible publicly. We're not at 50 million, and we are hoping for a more robust interest in the future.
Yeah, yeah. So, how do people get access to the prospectus? Check it out.
Yeah, sure. So the way to explore and learn about this offering is to go to our website. So we are offering this directly through our website.
Okay.
There's no brochure involved, so we're not paying commissions, which we felt was important. Although it can have an impact on how far we can reach the
Right.
customer. So on our website, there's a link to the offering. That offering, of course, details all the information
Yeah.
and also the risks involved, and
Yeah.
tells you, how to also purchase the shares.
Okay. And so how does one purchase the shares?
Well, you go on the site, and when you're ready to purchase, you select an Invest Now button, and that takes you to an offsite location, a secure server, and that then walks you through the process. The back end part of it is
And what's
handled
the
by,
minimum investment that someone can make?
well, believe it or not, you can invest with $10.
Wow.
The reason why we did this, Devin, it's important to share a bit of background. So the idea to the Reg A and crowdfunding, if you want to call it that, is to reach a whole lot of people. The person who really wants to participate, but does not have a lot of money to make, what might be considered an investment in a stock. They may not have a brokerage account. So the idea was to open this up to everyone. And that's why the price, the minimum price is $10.
That's great. Makes it very, very accessible to everyone. You're exactly right. So have you completed any projects so far?
The way this works is we have to monitor and measure first, and then we have the sequestered carbon. At this moment in time, we are initiating two very large projects. One of them is in Ghana, Africa, and the other is in the Democratic Republic of Congo, also in Africa.
Yeah.
These are initial stages, and the various types of arrangements have been made, and we are set to begin monitoring this year in 2018.
This is very exciting stuff. Well, Bruno, you've had a long and successful career. What's the most important lesson you've learned over your career?
Well, I think in the context of planetary scale, the biggest thing is that you have to involve people. It's not necessarily about solely the ecosystem. Ecosystems are now a balance or an imbalance of anthropogenic encroachment and nature itself. So I think we've learned that nature and the encroachment of humans is not a self-adjusting process that is always positive. So we have to put into place systems that allow humans to interact and change this balance. That is in the form of a transaction. And that's what's missing today, in our opinion, from the various policies and science initiatives. They're very good. They don't involve transactions with the people involved in managing the forest, for example. So we believe that is what we have learned, and that's what drove us to engage in the Reg A Plus, which was quite an undertaking, in fact.
Yeah. Why have you decided at this point in your career to tackle this forest-based carbon sequestration?
Well, I'd say I'm also involved personally. I believe deeply in improving the human condition, and what we do in effect is take investors who sit behind their desk at a computer or on their iPhone, and we teleport them to these regions that are often very poor and very destitute, but yet they sit on some of the most valuable natural resources on the earth. We want to connect these two. And that is what I believe is the right thing to do. It's personal for me.
Sure.
I also believe that we have an obligation of some sort to prepare the planet for the future. So I'm doing my part, such as it is, to participate in this. And I'm very committed to this.
So Bruno, what is your superpower?
Wow. I have to admit, I don't have one, but if I have one that might be possible, it would be, again, this teleportation of you behind your desk to these forests and the people. Think of it as a climatic Hakuna Matata. Hey, we don't have to worry about the future. We have it, under control. We can be more relaxed about that future for our future generations. So, yeah, if I have one, it would be that climatic Hakuna Matata, something like that.
Well, Bruno, really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Before you go, tell us how people can learn more about the offering in Planet Alpha Corp and how they can connect with you personally.
Sure. The best way to learn about the offering is to go to the website. And that URL is kind of long, but I'll give it to you. It's www.planetalphaforest.earth. If you wish to connect with me personally, I welcome that. And that is my email, bruno.marino@planetalphaforest.earth. You may also reach me at Planet Alpha Corp via Twitter, for example.
Fantastic. Well, Bruno, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today, and we wish you every success in reducing carbon in the atmosphere. We all need you to win on this one.
Thank you very, very much, Devin. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
All righty. Let's do some good.
At Caring Crowd, we believe everyone has the power to make a difference. Through our crowdfunding platform for community health, we empower passionate people to drive real change. Whether you work for a nonprofit organization, volunteer, or want to get involved for the first time, you can post a campaign on Caring Crowd. Join us, because caring is where change begins.
Thank you for listening. This podcast is available at youtube.com/Devin Thorpe. Subscribe to this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes by searching for Your Mark on the World. Every weekday, Devin hosts a CEO, celebrity, entrepreneur, or other changemaker here on the Your Mark on the World show to inspire and prepare you to make your mark. Devin is a champion of social good, writing about, advocating for, and advising people who are doing good. He is a Forbes contributor who is a recognized thought leader in social entrepreneurship, impact investing, and crowdfunding. To book Devin as a speaker, visit devinthorpe.com.